Commissioners here with us today, so I'm very happy to see everyone on this overwhelming snow day. How about that? Which is not so bad right now. But regardless, we came in here with the mindset, ain't no stopping us now.
Madam Chair, I can hardly hear you. Madam Chair? I can't hear you. There's no sound.
Yeah, we have to do that.
We are expecting all this inclement weather, which so far hasn't come. And we had a few little technical difficulties already, but our mantra for this morning was ain't no stopping us now. So, and that's how we're going to proceed today. So good morning, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Hewlett, Chair of the Prince George's County Planning Board of the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission. And the Planning Board is in session for its January 20th, 2022 75th virtual meeting since the onset of the pandemic. I'm going to take a moment to remind everyone of our guidelines for participation during this virtual process. Speaker pre-registration and pre-submission of comments and exhibits is required. All participants must pre-register, and all materials or exhibits, if any, must be submitted by 12 noon on the Tuesday before the Planning Board meeting, as shown on the screen, as announced in every weekly Planning Board meeting, as posted on our website, and as clearly stated in bold red on our published weekly Planning Board agenda. Registered speakers and presenters may join the meeting utilizing the link provided via the email from the Planning Board office, or may listen or participate by phone utilizing the call-in number provided via the email. And of course, the public may continue to watch Planning Board meetings streamed live, or if you wish to become a person of record, you may sign up on our online web form, and please note the screen as for instructions. As always, we commence our Planning Board meetings with a moment of silence for those who have passed on, in honor of the individuals who passed on since our last meeting of January 13, 2022. Charles McGee, at the tender age of 102, he was one of the last surviving famed Tuskegee Airmen who overcame racism and oppression to fly in World War II. And boy, did they prove everyone wrong. He fought in 3 wars, the World War II, the Korean War, and Vietnam War, and received the gold medal with members of Tuskegee Airmen in 2007. So anyway, and then more than 4 decades after his military retirement, in February of 2020, he received an honorary promotion to Brigadier General. Honorable James Kenkel, former Deputy State's Attorney for Prince George's County. He was a juvenile master, a judge, and the district public defender right here. So many of us in Prince George's County knew him well. He was a partner in the law firm of DePaul, Wilner, Kenkel, and Associates in College Park, and he was appointed U.S. Federal Magistrate Judge in 1985 and retired in 1997. We extend our hearts to the family of Jim Kenkel. Rudolph Pratt, age 88, of Fort Washington, Maryland, retired journalist who wrote a twice-weekly column on local business for Washington Post magazine for 19 years, and he was among an early core of Black journalists that cracked the segregation barriers of Southern newspapers when he began his career in 1964 with the Charleston, South Carolina News and Courier. The latest victims of the widespread coronavirus, COVID-19. Okay, we now have just under 70 million reported cases and over 880,000 deaths in the United States alone. from the pandemic. And those are just the ones that are reported, because we know that there are some that are unreported as well. Folks, you must be careful. Throughout the nation and the world, we want to remember the victims of the volcano eruption and tsunami near Tonga. Rosalie Hawkins, who was a singer and members of the 1960 group the Dixie Cups, who formed with her sister and cousin. Their iconic hit, Chapel of Love, and that knocked the Beatles off the #1 spot in Billboard Hot 100 in 1964. John Lind, age 73, accomplished songwriter who co-wrote hits like Boogie Wonderland, Save the Best for Last by Vanessa Williams, Boogie Wonderland, Earth, Wind and Fire, and Crazy for You, Madonna. Fred Paris, the lead singer for the Five Satins, known for their iconic song, In the Still of the Night. Andre Leon Talley, who was a fashion icon, journalist, and longtime creative director and editor-at-large of Vogue magazine. He was born in Washington, D.C., and was a graduate, listen up, Madam Vice Chair, a graduate of North Carolina Central University. Got that? Okay. Yvette Mimieux, actress who appeared in Where the Boys Are, Time Machine, and Light in the Piazza. Joe Hall, age 93, former University of Kentucky men's basketball coach who led the team to the 1978 national championship. Jeffrey Parker, CEO and general manager of MARTA, the Metropolitan Atlanta Rapid Transit Authority, who was struck and killed by a train. And I'm going to leave it at that. And of course, we extend our deepest sympathy to any of you who may have suffered loss of a loved one too. We open and extend our hearts to each of you. May we have that moment of silence, please. Thank you. Before I go to other announcements, I'm now going to I note that for the record that we have the full complement of our planning board members. We have our Chief of Development and Review there, James Hunt. We have our counsel with us, Delise Coleman, Associate General Counsel. We have our acting deputy director of the planning department, Derek Balaj, here with us. We have Ryan Cron, the man behind the curtain, making all this work. We have Kenny Flanagan over here working the PowerPoint, senior planning technician. And helping us out, we have the incomparable Lee Krapka, who officially retired but came back to help us today for planning board. So we are indebted and very, very thankful to her as well. So with that, I'm going to turn to our planning board members for a motion regarding the draft minutes of the January 13th planning board meeting.
Move approval.
Okay.
Is there a motion to approve?
Yes, we did.
Okay, so we can't hear you. Oh, now we got another problem.
Can you hear me?
Okay, man behind the curtain, Mr. Cron.
Can you hear us?
So they can't make motions. Can you mute
I
me?
can hear you. Shawnice, we can hear each other,
Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure you could hear me. Okay.
but I don't think,
I could hear everybody.
Okay. Daddy just can't hear us.
I can't hear you.
Oh, now I'm muted. Okay, wait, I can hear you now. Can you hear me now?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, we are really good to go because we are persistent, we are resilient, and we're going to keep it moving. So now I'm asking for a motion to approve the minutes of the January 13th, 22.
We did say move approval.
I did say second.
Yeah, but everybody else got to hear you too. Okay, so we have a motion by Madam Vice Chair, seconded by Commissioner Washington. Madam Vice Chair,
But I,
Commissioner Washington,
Vote aye.
Commissioner Dorner,
Vote aye.
and Commissioner Geraldo.
Vote aye, Madam Chair.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. We got the motion carries 5-0. We are pleased to have item 3C on the agenda today. Now, item 3C is the Parks and Recreation item. It is the Inclusive Interpretation Initiative and the Black History Month program. I am looking for Chris Fanning and Omar Eaton Martinez. Are you both on?
Yes, Madam Chair, we're here.
Wonderful. What are you going to make opening statements? Are you presenting, or Ms. Fanning? Or is Mr.
Thank you,
Eaton?
Madam Chair. I'll turn it right over to Omar Eaton Martinez. Thanks again for the opportunity. Good morning.
Thank you so much, Ms. Fanning. Mr. Ethan Martinez, we look forward to hearing from you. We look forward to this presentation.
Thank you.
And it's up, our slides are up now, so you can proceed.
Excellent. Well, good morning and Happy New Year to everyone on the call. Special thanks for this opportunity to Commissioners Geraldo, Dorner, and Washington. Extra special thanks to our Vice Chair Bailey, who we stand on your shoulders with all the great work you've done around history, and extra special thanks to you, Madam Chairman, who've been so supportive of our work. And we're thankful for this opportunity to present about our Inclusive Interpretation Initiative. Next slide. We wanted to give you a little bit of background about what our thought process was about engaging in this initiative. In earnest, we have been doing this at a slow pace for arguably many years, but in the last 2 to 3 years, we really started to crystallize our efforts and start to really formalize a strategy around this effort. But what prompted it was that we came to the realization that in our historic sites, interpreted through a pretty narrow lens, really through the colonist, landowner, or even slaveholder privileged perspective. And we thought that fell short in the expectation that we had as professionals, but more importantly, the expectation that our community have of us as we go on forward in this work. Also to acknowledge that we have 6 house museums that have a legacy of enslavement. 5 of them are single house museums in the context that we have 1 manager and 1 staff for each of those units. And then we have 1 that falls under the Black History Program, which we'll highlight in a moment. And then we have another that falls under our archaeology unit at the Mount Calvert Historical and Archaeological Park. And so we have these sites that have these sites of trauma, these sites of triumph, and we wanted to do better in making sure that we were telling the fuller story. And then certainly the nervous landscapes for many in our county when they come to these sites. And what I mean by a nervous landscape is, when I first came onto this job 3.5 years ago, and I went around and visited the sites and started to learn the different histories, there was certain nervousness and uneasiness as a person of color coming into some of our sites, because we knew that there was a story there that was either not being told or not being told fully, or if it was told at all, it might have been on the periphery. And so that uneasiness, that dissonance caused a nervous landscape. And we wanted to address that, because I'm sure if I felt that way, there were others. And as we continue to engage and cultivate relationships with the community, we found out that that was so. And lastly, I wanted to definitely highlight the fact that we had a recent racial reckoning in our country that presented a great opportunity and urgency. Those who may have not seen this as important to the advancement of our society, I think are now starting to warm up to that in certain spaces. And we wanted to also take advantage of this new moment. Next slide. And so our vision for this work is really to build out a division-wide inclusive interpretation framework. One is comprehensive, balanced, truthful, and most importantly, trusted. So we're cultivating these relationships, again, with the community to make sure that we're telling these stories not from just an ivory tower, but really locked armed with folks. And so in earnest, last September, we started an inclusive interpretation workbook process, which really allows all the sites to collectively go through their interpretive schemes and start to make them, recreate them or revamp them from an inclusive lens. And so we had a great check-in meeting about that work a couple of days ago, and it was really encouraging for us to hear about some of the things that the sites have already embarked upon and what they plan in the near and distant future. And of course, this allows us to shift from a single story to a collective conversation. Some of you may have seen the now famous TED Talk by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, the famous Nigerian author, who talked about the danger of a single story. And it is absolutely dangerous, because what it does, it erases people and it invisibilizes a whole demographic, and sometimes many demographics across the board. And so we wanted to shift from that single story, from that ivory tower, from that didactic experience, to making sure we're creating transformational, immersive, and collective experiences around conversations and different interpretive methodologies that we're starting to implement now. And part of that is the integrating the spaces. And so, like I said earlier, there are some sites where you can go into and you might learn about the enslaved voices or indigenous existence of folks in that site, but they were often marginalized to maybe one part of the house. And so what we're working on now is to integrate the stories of those enslaved voices and those indigenous beings throughout the house as appropriate and as historically accurate. And I think that's really important for us to really underscore as we continue to uplift these voices and connect the legacies of enslavement to what we're dealing with today and what we will probably be dealing with in the near future. And the transition is the passive education to inspired action means we're not just giving you an encyclopedic experience anymore. We are really doing things to prick you so that you inspire you to action. One of our strategic pillars is transforming education into activism. And that's what we want to do with our sites now. We started to take that journey together over the last couple of years. Next slide. And so our plan is has some to hone in some of our inclusive interpretation elements. We have reimagined tours, indoors and outdoors. We have great assets. You know, one of the assets that was really underlooked was the fact that some of our historic house museums in particular have the original brick, which means that some of those bricks, if not all those bricks, were touched by enslaved hands. And you could even see the fingerprints of those enslaved labor in sites like Montpelier and Marietta. And we had a wonderful opportunity to be able to share that experience with Director Bill Tyler and Deputy Director Steve Carter in our Echoes of the Enslaved event that we had last September. And surely indoor, we're going to do things like integrated spaces. We're going to be doing things like bringing in people in the house through the same way that the enslaved and the indentured servants came in the house to really fully immerse people in those spaces. We're going to have new and expanded exhibitions and collections. We're doing great work in all of our sites around that. A great example would be the John Green collection that we have at the College Park Aviation Museum that allows us to tell a fuller story around Croom Airport, which was the segregated airport for African Americans. There was really a community center at the same time. We're having multicultural events and programs of all kinds that we'll dig into in a moment. And then we're going to build out our descendant engagement. We have descendants of, we definitely have a relationship in some cases with the descendants of the landowners and the slaveholders, but we have to do more to build out our community networks around the descendants of the enslaved. We definitely have had relationships with those families, but we want to continue to cultivate those relationships and expand, as we know that it was way more than just 2 or 3 families that were enslaved in Prince George's County, as Prince George's County was the largest slaveholding county during that time in the state of Maryland. Next slide. And so some of our outcomes really are to, provide these transformational experiences that enlighten and inspire. Truths are told. We have diverse stories that are shared. Nervous landscapes are now transformed into welcoming sites of belonging, that people can actually come into these sites and see themselves, or if they don't see themselves precisely, they can at least connect with the stories in some form or fashion, honoring the great diversity that we have in our county. And of course, we have visitors from all over the region and sometimes different parts of the nation. And lastly, Prince George's County residents and visitors feeling ownership and taking full pride and value in our historic sites, that we no longer will have people who we meet in events will tell us that we never knew this was here. We want to definitely eliminate that statement when we engage with our communities as we continue to do our outreach and build those relationships. Next slide. So some of our examples here we wanted to share. So Ecos de los Esclavizados 2021, La Búsqueda de la Libertad, is really our Echoes of the Enslaved 2021, The Pursuit of Liberty. And I share this with you in particular because we took the time to translate this into Spanish because we understood the importance of being able to have these promotional materials out to our Spanish-speaking communities or our Spanish-first communities as well. And not to only just have things that are translated just for things that we believe that are only relevant or important to the Latino community, but all of us get to learn about the rich histories we have in Prince George's County. And of course, we have the Giving Voice initiative that's housed under the Marietta House Museum, but this particular program is something that we started this year to honor the history, the military and social history around veterans of color, called With Eagles on Their Button, which is a phrase that Frederick Douglass coined. And this is a collaboration among Marietta House Museum, Surratt House Museum, and our Sankofa Mobile Museum, which I'll explain further later in the presentation. Next slide. And then we have some great examples like our Latinas in Aviation Festival. It's a global festival that the College Park Aviation Museum started this past October. We had great participation by our chairman and our director, and it was well attended, and we hope to continue to expand that relationship as a partnership with the authors of the book called Latinas in Aviation, which really highlights women of color in STEM, which is something that we don't get to see all the time. So we get to highlight not just the STEM factor of that, but actually the legacy and the culture and the history that stems from that as well. And then adjacent to that is our Maryland Emancipation Day, which our Black History program has done an outstanding job in continuing to lift up Maryland Emancipation Day over the last 3 years. And this year they did it in partnership with the Riversdale House Museum, and they did a program called Torn Apart by Slavery, Repairing Through Genealogy, which is really an idea of reparative genealogy, acknowledging that as we connect the dots around our family histories and our community histories, that we'll really start to understand who we are better and really be able to repair those gaps that have been broken over the years due to slavery, white supremacy, and other racial violence that we've experienced. Next slide. And some of the things that we have already in place right now is a great new inclusive tour at Montpelier called Fighting Destiny, the untold story of Montpelier's enslaved population, where you can go in and really understand and dig deep into the presence of the enslaved in that site. And then we have Marietta, who has done great things around building an indigenous peoples garden, which we were able to unveil last October, and also dig into really integrating the experience and the presence of enslavement within the house and outside of it as well. Next slide. And of course, we have our new opening of our Concord Historic Site. It hasn't opened to the public yet, but right now it's going under preservation. But we have our new manager, Shakia Gillette, who reports to Dennis Doster, our Black History Program Manager. And this is a great picture of Laverne Gray, one of our partners, who was able to tour the house where her ancestors were enslaved for the first time. And that's not lost on us at all. And so we want to continue to cultivate our relationship with the Mildred Gray Ridgely Charitable Trust and work with them to help interpret the site and really work to engage the community around that great effort. Next slide. And of course, we have our Sankofa Mobile Museum, which we've been working in earnest for a couple of years now. It's really starting to crystallize. We're so excited for the development of this project. We purchased a 24-foot trailer in a Sprinter van, and we work with some great vendors who are helping us bring it to life, where we're focusing on untold stories or undertold stories that really look at the cross-section and the intersections of the diversity of our county. And as you can see, in there's certain boxes. If you look on that right picture, you'll see a little bit better. You'll see some white boxes sort of to the right, and those boxes are actually iPads that will actually bring 3D objects to life and really allow us to tell stories through objects. And then some of the images you see on the side will be a combination of historic images and graphic novel images that we're going to use to illuminate the story as well. And of course, on the bottom there, you'll see a map of Prince George's County. And all of this is done through the technology of augmented reality. And then once the visitors go through the trailer and have that experience, and they will exit the trailer and be able to put on Oculus glasses, which are these virtual reality devices where they can actually have sort of an immersive conversation with certain profiles. We've highlighted profiles around different parts of our history, different intersections around Civil War, around the Ridgely Rosenwald School, around Latina environmental justice. There's so many different, we have 8 different profiles, and we're really excited for you all to have this experience later this year. Next slide. And we did this also by being able to hire new staff. So we have the lead historic interpretation and community engagement officer, Marvin Alonzo Greer, who is leading our Sankofa Mobile Museum, as well as the inclusive interpretation workbook plan that I mentioned earlier. And he came to us from the Missouri Historical Society, but he's also had experiences at Colonial Williamsburg and the Atlanta History Center. And also, what I forgot to say earlier was that part of what we're doing to resource this inclusive interpretation is through the leadership of our division chief, Chris Fanning, we were able to really make our historic house museums in particular whole. So we increased their operating budget so they could actually resource this work and do it without having to squeeze and pinch pennies here and there. And all this is due and thanks to your support well at the planning board. And so next you'll be able to hear from Dr. Dennis Doster, our Black History Program Manager. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Etienne Martinez. And Mr. Doster, you are on.
Good morning, Chair Hewlett, Vice Chair Bailey, and Commissioners Washington, Dorner, and Giraldo. I think if you go to the next slide, it should be the beginning of my presentation. So once again, I am before you in January to give you all a little bit of a preview of the Department of Parks and Recreation's offerings for Black History Month. As always, we're excited about the great work that is happening throughout the department. And we, as always, will have a mixture of programming for all ages. And this year, of course, last year, we went all virtual, but this year, as we begin to open back up our facilities and open up to the public, we will be offering a mixture of virtual and in-person activities. And so we're excited to do that and really proud of the great work that our staff throughout the department are doing in responding to all the uncertainties of COVID-19 and really just being flexible and moving along and continuing to do great work. And so one of the big issues that we ran into this year because of COVID-19 was nationally, globally, there's a paper shortage. So that resulted in us having to pivot a little bit in how we advertise. And so this year, what we did, instead of the full larger brochure, because of that paper shortage, we did a mini brochure, and that's accompanied by a full listing of programs that are being offered on our website. And that information is up now at blackhistory.pgparks.com. And I'll just mention a few of the programs. So Saturday, February 5th from 1 to 2 at the Montpelier Arts Center, they will be having a panel discussion, Get Up, Music and Black Wellness. And that dovetails with the national theme for Black History Month, actually the entire year, which is set by the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. And that program is in partnership with CAPA, the Coalition for African Americans in the Performing Arts, a longstanding partner there at Montpelier Arts Center and in the Arts and Cultural Heritage Division. Then on Sunday, February 13th from 3 to 4:30, A Stone of Hope, the little known writings of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And so that program in person will be led by actor, orator, social commentator, and activist Keith Snipes. And it will be celebrating the works of Dr. King, and that will be at the Southern Area Aquatics and Recreation Complex, one of our newer facilities. And then lastly, I'll mention on Saturday, February 26th from 1 to 3 p.m., the Mount Calvary Archaeology Lab Experience, which will be led by the NHRD Archaeology Program, showing the great work that they're doing at Mount Calvary in uncovering artifacts and the history related to the slave quarter there. And so they'll be sharing that information with attendees, and they'll actually get to engage in washing artifacts. And so actually holding pieces of history in their hands. So I just wanted to highlight those 3 events. I know my time is limited. If you could go to the next slide. And then lastly, I'll mention, of course, as I always do at the center of Black History Month for the department is the MNC PPC Black History Program's annual exhibition. And so we are excited that this year, 2022, marks our 40th anniversary. And so our exhibition is more than a month commemorating 40 years of the MNC PPC Black History Program. And so we'll be going from 1982, the foundational days with Bianca Floyd, through the career of our long-standing Black History Program, Gail Thomas, and then we'll, of course, come to the present and the work that we've been able to do during the last 6 years under my tenure, and just looking at all the great work that all of the staff has done in dovetailing with what Omar just presented, doing inclusive interpretive work, but doing it for 40 years. And so this Black History Program, that was something that was created from the community, pushing the commission to do this. And so we've been highlighting Black stories and Black narratives for 40 years. And so we'll be highlighting that in our exhibition. And so that'll be January 30th to March 31st at Harmony Hall Art Center. And of course, we will be having an opening program. Of course, we won't be doing it in person this year for another year, but we will be doing it virtually. So I'm looking forward to seeing our chair tomorrow as we prepare for that, and our director as well. And so that will include, as always, the unveiling of our annual Black History Month poster, remarks from our chair and from our director, Director Bill Tyler. And then also at the centerpiece will be a roundtable discussion with former and current staff members of the Black History Program talking about Black history past, present, and future. And so we have Dr. Lopez Matthews, who used to work for the Black History Program, who's now at the Moreland Spingarn Research Center, Dr. Kendi Phillips, who is now the inaugural director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at Brown University. And so we'll be engaging in a great conversation that really will highlight the field of Black history, and specifically the work of the MNC PPC Black History Program. And also, I must mention that we will have musical entertainment as well. And so we will have a musical trio put together by Mr. Brian Mills, who is the founder of the Secret Society Band. And so we will have some soul music. I know our chair will love that as well. And so that is, I think, my time. So thank you all for giving me this amount of time just to share a little bit about what the department is doing for Black History Month 2022. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to just cut to the chase here. First of all, Mr. Doster and the whole Black History Month team, we just wanted to thank you for being innovative enough and creative enough to not let the pandemic slow us down anymore. I started off this meeting with "Ain't no stopping us now," and you have just proved my point. And I will be glad to hear Brian as well. He's a tremendous sax player, so that's great. But the programs have been phenomenal, and I have been around a long time, in the county a long time, so I've gotten to attend almost all of them, and they're fabulous, and they're so innovative, and you put so much effort into it, and when they're in person, they're extraordinarily well attended. So I'm so thankful, but that you did let the pandemic stop, and that you're that we're doing it virtually and some hybrids, and we must remain. We're asking everyone to keep checking the website, because some things may change depending on how this pandemic goes. So it is potentially fluid. So continue to check the website. But it'll be good to see some of those others come back. We'll headed up our Black History Month program too. So that'll be phenomenal. So wonderful. And I also want to thank Ms. Fanning. I want to thank Omar Eaton Martinez also for his presentation today, because all of those programs are fantastic. And when I attended them, I was just not surprised, but thrilled to see the level of interest, and particularly among young people who came too. So that was really nice for all of those events, Echoes of the Enslaved, all of those events. And then when we saw the Latinas in Aviation, oh my goodness, to see them, these pilots, we were actually at the airport and watched them fly in. It was just amazing to see these women step out off their plane, donning their pumps. I mean, that's how they flew these planes, and immensely skilled, and all the young people were there, saw that they too can do that. So they are learning experiences that are tremendously enjoyable as well. So I do have to thank our teams for doing such a phenomenal job, and I would invite everyone to please check the website for more and more activities. So thank you. So and it's imperative, as Mr. Eaton Martinez said, that we tell a complete story. We're not trying to tell or show half a story and leave others unnamed or unmentioned. So that is critical, and it's something that we at the planning board have tried to do for many, many years with these archaeological studies. You can't just do the big house. You can't just do a study around the big house. You must do a study where the enslaved stayed, because there are artifacts there as well. And sometimes the cemeteries there had no headstones and whatnot. So, we're going to look out for everybody. So thank you all for your wonderful presentation today. I'm going to turn to see if the commissioners have any comments. Madam Vice Chair?
Well, I just want to add to your thoughts on thanking Omar and Dennis for highlighting the extent of what we do around this particular Black History Month theme, and throughout the year, throughout what's available in Prince George's County, highlighting the interesting and informative information around what's going on and what has happened in Prince George's County, the history of the county. So thank you so very much.
Commissioner Washington, if any of the board members have any comments, don't feel obligated, but if you do have a comment, please so indicate.
Yeah, I just want to join and associate myself with both your comments, Madam Chair, as well as Madam Vice Chair, Mr. Doster and Mr. Eaton Martinez. Thank you so much for the very thoughtful and thorough presentations. Congratulations on 40 years. And I am super excited about this interpretive, inclusive, no, let me get it right, inclusive interpretation initiative. So wherever I am, make sure I get the full chronology of activities and events. And I will say, Mr. Eaton Martinez, as you were describing it, I felt that I was kind of experiencing what it could possibly be, and what I know that that's part of your vision. So thank you for a phenomenal job in presenting that information.
Commissioner Dorner, do you have any comment?
I would just say, yeah, great job by both presenters. The one thing that I would have a question about is, can we find a way to get that mobile unit over to schools, particularly like next month if it's ready, just to tour around. If kids are back, that would be fantastic for them to be able to kind of tour around. I know it's a little bit difficult in the COVID environment because it might be tight. And then also just anything like digital that you've got, if you have like videos and stuff, kids watch the videos in class, and they're hurting on material sometimes around this. So if you've already got this packaged up, like, let's get it out to the kids as well, because I think that would be another really nice way of sharing the information and then integrating what we've done on the commission level with all the children, and then that exposes them also to the commission, so then they can learn about the programs and other things that we have, and the places they can go to actually see this in person once they're comfortable with getting out.
Yeah, thank you for that, Commissioner Dorner. Our primary users will be schools. We've been in constant conversation with folks at Prince George's County Public Schools, but also private schools, homeschool communities, and we're working with them also to help us beta test the mobile museum as well. So we definitely have those communities on the forefront of our mind.
Thank you. Commissioner Geraldo?
I'd like to associate myself with everyone's comments, and I really want to thank the department for such an excellent presentation. I am excited to see it, and I can't wait until January 30th. Thank you.
There we go. And thank you so much for your wonderful presentation. So, okay, and have a good day. You're welcome to stay on if you so choose. If not, thank you. I'm going to proceed with our announcements. Again, it is the month of January, which is National Blood Donor Month, National Slavery and Human Trafficking Prevention Month. This is egregious. It is growing. We need to put an end to it. So do what you can, and if you see someone who looks very, very troubled, so especially if someone you know, try to direct them to get help. It is Financial Wellness Month. It is Get Organized Month. Good luck with that. It is Get a Balanced Life Month. Good luck with that too. It is National Be on Purpose Month, National Hot Tea Month, National Soup Month, and National Skating Month. And we invite you to go to our skating facilities when they reopen. It is January 20th. On January 20th, 1801, John Marshall was appointed Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court. 1920, the American Civil Liberties Union was founded. Other events on January 20th, 1968, Peggy Fleming won the U.S. Women's Figure Skating Championship. 1968 was the premiere of Bonnie and Clyde, starring Faye Dunaway and Warren Beatty as the title characters. 1979, Marvin Gaye released his iconic and prophetic single, What's Going On? And that song is every bit as relevant today as it was in 1979, and the question remains, what's going on? 1980, President Jimmy Carter announced the U.S. boycott of the Olympics in Moscow. 1981, after 444 days in captivity, U.S. diplomats and citizens held hostage at the U.S. Embassy in Tehran were finally released and began their journey home. 1986, after many lobbying efforts by diverse persons, countless organizations, many years of marching in the cold winters down to the U.S. Capitol, and many of us participated in these marches. I remember how cold it was. Finally, on January 20th, 1986, Martin Luther King Day was finally declared a national federal holiday. In 1988, rock and roll, this was a good year for Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Beach Boys, Beatles, Drifters, Bob Dylan, Supremes, Berry Gordy, and blues legend Leadbelly were all inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. In 2012, the rock and roll inductee with the rich, powerful, earthy voice and winner of 6 Grammys and 17 Blues Music Awards, Etta James, the incomparable Etta James, known for her signature song, At Last, departed this life in 2012. January 20th is typically Inauguration Day, and in 1937, it was the first presidential inauguration. 1945, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt was sworn in for an unprecedented and never to be repeated 4th term as U.S. President. 1961, John Fitzgerald Kennedy was the youngest elected U.S. President and was administered his oath by Supreme Court Justice Earl Warren. And on and on and on. 69, Richard Milhouse Nixon. 81, Ronald Reagan. 89, George H.W. Bush. 93, Bill Clinton. 2001, George W. Bush. 2009, Barack Obama. 2017, Donald Trump. And 2021, Joe Biden. I'm going to turn to our slides now. Please join. Okay, don't turn. Okay, yeah. We're going to ask that you join the Planning Department's Master Plan of Transportation 2035 team to discuss existing conditions and the future of transportation around the county. Now, I want you to take a look at this slide because we put this picture on there because we want to thank our transportation expert, Crystal Hancock, for stepping up to the plate and being interviewed by the Washington Post and giving a spectacular interview on the upcoming Master Plan of Transportation. So we're giving her a shout out right now. Crystal Hancock, she represented the department extraordinarily well. The planning department is going to host these 3 countywide community engagement meetings at 6 p.m. on January 25th, 26th, and 25th, 26th, and 27th. Choose only one date and register for one of the 3 meetings by visiting the website depicted on the screen. Okay, so congratulations, Crystal. Finally, I want to take, not finally, but I want to take a moment to thank Anika Jackson, Anika Jackson, who is our acting public affairs and marketing officer, who is here today. She's been with the planning department, the chairman's office for many years, but she is being detailed. She's agreed to step up to the plate and venture over to the Department of Parks and Recreation and to do public affairs there. So we wanted to give Anika a huge shout out because after today, she will be headed over there for a while. And we want to thank Callista Black, our Principal Public Affairs and Marketing Specialist, for stepping up to the plate over here in the chairman's office. So it's win-win for everybody. So we want to thank Anika. We want to give you a round of applause. And Callista, we want to say thank you as well. And Anika, thank you as well. Slide number 2. The Prince George's County Health Department and Office of Emergency Management are distributing 25,000 free COVID at-home test kits each week at designated community centers. Now, this thing says that they will be, the slide says they will be distributed on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. and Thursdays at 8 a.m. while supplies last. We did have a call last night, and given the weather forecast at the time, the county elected to cancel the distributions for today. Of the at-home test kits for at our community centers and at the public libraries. However, testing and vaccinations will continue today, and that will be the vaccinations at the Sports and Learning Complex and the testing at Temple Hills, but we moved the time to 12 noon. So that you can still get tested and you can still get your vaccinations come 12 noon, but the at-home distribution has been suspended for today and will resume next week. So please visit the website web address on the screen for more details. Now, we do, there's one, no, not next. We do want to take a moment. You know, everybody has stepped up to the plate during this pandemic and this virtual environment for 2 years now. And so we're so thankful to everyone for so doing. But I want to take a moment to particularly thank the birthday boy, our Chief of Development Review, James Hunt. So we want, I know you didn't think you were going to get away with this without us acknowledging you. So we want to acknowledge you for stepping up to the plate, for working with not only internally with our staff and with the board and with me, but with your outreach to the public and to the private sector has been phenomenal. Citizens have been able to talk with you. You've talked with the citizens an awful lot. You've talked with the applicants an awful lot. You've talked with the engineers. You have spearheaded this tremendously. And we are so very thankful to you. And we are taking this opportunity to say not only thank you, but to say happy birthday to you as well. Now, you know we had to stick the Halloween picture in there, but I stuck me in there with you so that you don't look all crazy all by yourself. So happy birthday to you, James Hunt. And thank you.
Thank you.
So with that, oh, and I'll stay there for a second. Okay, I just want to say, we've been fraught with challenges in 2020 and 2021, and the new year commenced with challenges as well. These continue to be very tough times as we still grapple with anxiety, stress, fear, loss of friends and loved ones, and we're just plain tired of the disruption to our lives. But we still remain careful. And we struggle and push forward because we're resilient. I talk with the health department just about every day or nearly every day in Prince George's County. And the percent of positive test results, the infection rate, and the average daily case rate are all at unacceptable levels in Prince George's County. Now, the numbers are coming down, but they remain in those unacceptable levels. So that means Omicron has proven to be far more contagious than the Delta variant, even if you are vaccinated. However, being boosted gives you that much more protection. So vaccinated and boosted, you are far less likely to die, far less likely to require a ventilator, to be placed in ICU, or even to be hospitalized. So that is the good news. So we're all in this together, and it's not just about you. It's about all of us. So if you have not done so yet, by all means, get vaccinated, get boosted. We're making that a word for yourselves and for your safety of your friends, your colleagues, and your loved ones. We thank you and appreciate your flexibility, cooperation, and support as we continue our planning functions in a safe fashion. And as we embark on today's hearings, let's embrace 2022 and remain thankful for our blessings. Let's step up our game and increase our efforts to be kind, to stay safe, to look out for one another, to stay strong, to stay resilient, to get vaxxed and boosted, and remain ever hopeful as we continue our journey to a better place together. Now, when I say be kind and do your part by stepping up to the plate, if you think you are too small to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito. The Dalai Lama. I am moving to the consent agenda. Is there anyone here to oppose the staff's recommendations on items 4B or 4D through 4H, or any board member who wishes to discuss?
Madam Chair, for consideration of the records for the items 4D through 4H, I move adoption of the staff findings and approval of the items on the consent agenda in accordance with the recommendation of staff.
Second, incorporate item 4B, Madam Chair.
Okay, we have a motion by Madam Vice Chair and seconded by Commissioner Washington. Madam Vice Chair.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Washington.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Dorner.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Giraldo. You're
Aye,
muted.
Madam Chair. Vote aye, Madam Chair.
The ayes have it 5-0. Thank you very much. We're going to proceed in this order. Items 6, 7, 8, 5, and 9. 6, 7, 8, 5, and 9. Item 6, I want to make sure we have everyone. It is extension request for a preliminary plan of subdivision 4-06075 Locust Hill. It is for a 6-year extension. It has been modified. I want to make sure we have everyone. Mr. Diaz-Campbell.
Present, Madam Chair.
Wonderful. Mr. Antonetti, we see you. Good morning.
Good morning, Present.
Okay, you have your list of folks signed up. Mr. Horn, are you present?
Present, Madam Chair.
Wonderful. Mr. Ferrante?
Present, Madam Chair.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes, present, Madam Chair.
Mr. DeMarco? No? Okay. But I'm listening out for this one. Mr. Vizzi?
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair. Present.
He always does such a nice good morning. Okay, thank you. That concludes our sign-up list. Mr. Diaz-Campbell, you are on.
All right. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. For the record, I'm Eddie Diaz-Campbell, Senior Planner with the Subdivision Section. Item number 6 on the agenda is an extension request for preliminary plan of subdivision 4-06075 Locust Hill. This preliminary plan of subdivision was approved by the Planning Board on January 25, 2007, and it was valid through December 31, 2021, due to prior legislative extensions of the plan's validity period approved by the County Council. By letters dated November 3, 2021, and December 29, 2021, the applicant requested a 6-year extension of the plan's approval. This is the applicant's second extension request. The extension request is a property filed prior to the extension of the preliminary plan of subdivision, and this requirement is met. If this request is approved, the plan will be valid through December 31, 2027. The subject preliminary plan approved 554 lots and 24 parcels for the development of 554 dwelling units. Section 24-119D of the subdivision regulations, as modified by County Council Bill CB 93/2021, authorizes the Planning Board to grant an extension to the normal expiration of preliminary plan subdivision when certain criteria are met. For this preliminary plan, the criteria under Section 24-119D6 apply. These criteria are listed in the staff memorandum. Pursuant to Section 24-119D6A, this plan was valid for a 6-year validity period and is eligible for the requested extension because it has more than 400 residentially zoned lots. The lots are in the residential low development zone. Pursuant to Section 24-119D6C, an extension of up to 6 years from the expiration of the preliminary plan may be granted by the Planning Board if at least one of the 3 criteria in Section 24-119D6B, subsections Romanet 1 through Romanet 3, is met. Staff did find that the second criterion of Section 24-119D6B was met. Specifically, staff found that the developer has been proceeding in a diligent manner to complete the development, and it has been through no fault of their own that they have been unable to complete the development within the plan's validity timeframe. Based on information given by the applicant in their November 3 and December 29 letters, the applicant was unable to move forward on the development between 2007 and 2016. However, this lack of activity may be accounted for by the effects of the nationwide 2007 to 2009 recession. Since 2016, the applicant has continued to pursue development of the project, seeking approval of a variety of plans, including a natural resources inventory, a Type 2 tree conservation plan, specific design plans, a comprehensive design plan amendment, and site development concept plans. The applicant also needed to work with DPI to obtain approval of an acceptable road section for Master Plan Leland Road. Final agreement on the location of the road is critical for determining the locations of site entrances and open spaces, and so the project could not move forward to planning and permitting until this issue was resolved. Due to the need to finalize this major design feature at DPI, in addition to the length of time needed to proceed through the application processes of both MNC, PPC, and DPI, it was not the fault of the applicant that the development could not be completed within the validity timeframe. Based on staff's findings, staff recommends approval of the 6-year extension request for preliminary plan subdivision 4-06075 Locust Hill, pursuant to Section 24-119D6B, Romanet 2 of the subdivision regulations. This concludes staff's presentation.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Diaz-Campbell. Appreciate it. And I'm now going to turn to Mr. Antonetti.
Good morning, Madam Chair. For the record, Robert Antonetti with the law firm of Shipland Horn. As you heard, my esteemed partner, Arthur J. Horn, is with me, as well as John Ferrante, our land planner in the office. Also have Mr. Rizzi with Bowler Engineering and Mr. Jeff Driscoll on behalf of the applicant, WBLH LLC. I'd like to thank Mr. Campbell, D.S. Campbell, for his very thorough presentation. Greatly appreciate the opportunity to work, communicate, and to supplement our request based on their initial findings, which we have done. For all the reasons that he states, this request does meet the requirements of the subdivision regulations for an extension. I will point out that this is going to be an amazing project. It has been in planning for some time. The Leland Road design issue has been a critical element to moving forward. The road is actually going to be realigned and moved to the north from its current alignment. So that requires traversing many sensitive environmental areas. If you've been down Leland Road, you'll get the feel of what is in that area. So we needed to design it in a way that made sense, that avoided sensitive environmental features, preserved viewscapes, while at the same time being at an acceptable section to DPI. We've now reached that design that has been mutually agreed to between the agency and the developer, and we look forward to moving that forward. And that roadway will essentially set forth the platting.
Mr. Antonetti, for a quick second, maybe Mr. Flanagan, if you go to slide 7, just out of curiosity, can you just point him in the direct Mr. Flanagan's cursor to where that road might be relocated?
Well, actually, you can see it in blue. It's
blue part? Okay, the light blue?
A light blue, excuse me, yes.
Okay.
The current roadway is actually where, just below the light blue line, you can see the dark blue line, and then it moves into like a black and white line and runs right by Queen Anne's School and St. Barnabas Church. It is now going to be moved to the north, and we'll avoid that historical features there, but it's an alignment that's needed to have the width to have a major collector roadway in that area. So that's pretty close to the alignment. It actually is tweaked even further to avoid some more unnecessary grading and environmental features. So the grade establishment plan, which is an essential document to laying out the alignment, has been approved by DPI very recently. So we're in a position now to move forward with establishing that main roadway, which will be our entrance in and out of the site, and provide that component of the future Leland Road corridor, which, by the way, will cost over $7 million to complete just along our frontage. We do have significant frontage on Leland Road. So that, along with all the other infrastructure that will flow from that allow the site to move forward, we do believe that the additional time is warranted and does satisfy the criterion specifically that Mr. Diaz-Campbell mentioned. So with that, not to belabor it, we do agree with staff's recommendation in this case, and we urge your approval of this extension request, and we appreciate your consideration. And we're here to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Antonetti. So I just want to make sure, so all of your speakers there are here only if we have questions, then they're not intending to speak at this time?
That's correct, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to see if the board has any questions of either you or Mr. Diaz-Campbell. Madam Vice Chair?
No questions, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Washington?
No questions.
Commissioner Dorner?
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Giraldo?
I have no questions, Madam Chair.
Wonderful. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the recommendation of staff and approve the 6-year extension for preliminary plan 4-06075.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Washington, seconded by Madam Vice Chair. Madam Vice Chair.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Washington?
Vote aye.
Commissioner Dorner?
Vote aye.
And Commissioner Giraldo?
I vote aye. Thank you.
Thank you. The ayes have it. 5-0. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is item 7, which is preliminary plan of subdivision 4-08018, the Moore property. The request is for a 6-year extension. I'm going to check to make sure we have everyone. Ms. Gupta, there you are.
Madam Chair.
And I was too early, Mr. Antonetti. You can have a good day later. Mr. Hooper,
Present, Madam Chair.
Wonderful. And Mr. Ferrante, you're still on, right?
Present, Madam Chair.
Okay, that concludes the silent list for this matter as well. Ms. Gupta, you are on.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. For the record, I am Ridula Gupta with the subdivision section. Item number 7 on the agenda is an extension request for preliminary plan of subdivision 4-08018 titled The Moore Property. This preliminary plan of subdivision was approved by the planning board on June 4th, 2009, and it is valid through December 31st, 2021 due to prior legislative extensions of the plan's validity period approved by the county council by letters dated November 3, 2021 and December 29, 2021. The applicant requested a 6-year extension of the plan's approval. This is the applicant's first extension request. The extension request was required to be filed prior to the expiration of the preliminary plan of subdivision, and this requirement was met. If this request is approved, the preliminary plan of subdivision will be valid through December 31st, 2027. The subject preliminary plan of subdivision approved 375 lots and 52 parcels for the development of 640 dwelling units and 3,000 square feet of retail use. Section 24-119D of the subdivision regulations, as modified by County Council Bill CD-93-2021, authorizes the planning board to grant an extension to the normal expiration of a preliminary plan of subdivision when certain criteria are met. For this preliminary plan, the criteria under Section 24-119D6 apply. These criteria and their findings are listed in the staff memorandum. Pursuant to Section 24-119D6A, this plan was valid for a 6-year validity period and is eligible for the requested extension because it includes more than 400 dwelling units. The subject property is in the mixed-use, transportation-oriented, or MXT zone. Pursuant to Section 24-119D6C, an extension of up to 6 years from the expiration of the preliminary plan may be granted by the planning board if at least one of the 3 criteria in Section 24-119D6, subsection B, Romanet 1 through subsection B, Romanet 3 is met. Staff find that the section criteria in B was met. Specifically, staff found that the developer has been proceeding in a diligent manner to complete the development, and that it has been through no fault of their own. They have been unable to complete the development within the plan's validity timeframe. Approval of the preliminary plan of subdivision 4-08018 conditioned that prior to a final plat for the Moore property, adequate access roads to serve the property must be dedicated to connect to the public street system, either through the Smith Home Farm development located to the north, or the Westphalia Center development located to the south and east of the property. If you can go to slide 11. Yeah, this one works. Thank you. The Moore property is sandwiched between the developing portions of these 2 subdivisions and has no independent access to any existing public road network and is essentially landlocked. Adequate roads have yet to be dedicated or constructed to allow for access to the Moore property. Since the Moore property is completely dependent upon its neighbors to provide public road access, the applicant is not able to unilaterally complete development unless access across these neighboring properties is assured. The issue with access is beyond the applicant's control, and it is not the fault of the applicant that the development could not be completed within the validity time frame. Based on staff findings, Staff recommends that the planning board grant a 6-year extension to preliminary plan of subdivision 4-08018, the Moore property, pursuant to section 24-119D 6B, Romanet 2 of the subdivision regulations. This concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Gupta. I'm going to turn to Mr. Antonetti, and then I'll turn to our board to see if they have any questions of either of you. Okay. Oh, someone has a question. Mr. Antonetti, were you getting ready to speak?
Yes, I was, but if there's a question, I'll.
No, no, go ahead, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Again, for the record, Robert Antonetti with the law firm of Shipley and Horn, here with my colleague, Mr. John Ferrante. Also with us today, we're here on behalf of representing the applicant, Evangel Cathedral, Inc., is Pastor Randy Hooper, here to answer any questions that you may have. Before I comment further, I'd like to thank Ms. Gupta for the opportunity to make a request and to supplement that request with additional information as was deemed necessary by staff for them to complete their recommendation and review. We do agree with the staff's recommendation in this case. Just as you can see from this image, this yellow portion, the Moore property, is part of the Westphalia Town Center or the Westphalia Center. It is landlocked. That is beyond the control of the applicant. Its preliminary plan of subdivision has a condition, in fact, that final plats wouldn't be allowed unless the off-site roads allowing access would be dedicated. That being said, we and Shipley and Horn have the privilege of representing SHF project owner, the owner of the Parkside project. We've been working very diligently with our client on that project to obtain and perfect access to its sections 5 and 6, which are just north of the yellow outlined area on this slide in front of you. Those roadways, we believe, will be completed in 2022-2023, which will then provide access to this site and will allow for it to continue through the development process to finality. So we believe the 6-year period is appropriate. We do agree again with the staff's recommendation, and we very much thank you for your consideration of this request. And we are here as a group to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Antonetti. So I'm going to turn to, well, Reverend Hooper, it looks like his mic is on. Did he wish to speak or no?
Only to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Matt, I'm going to see if there are any questions, and after that, we'll see if there's a motion. Madam Vice Chair?
No questions.
Commissioner Washington?
No questions.
Commissioner Dorner?
No questions.
Commissioner Geraldo?
No questions, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay, let's see if there's a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the recommendation of staff and approve the 6-year extension for preliminary plan 4-08018.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Washington, seconded by Vice Chair Bailey. Madam Vice Chair?
Vote aye.
Commissioner Washington?
Vote aye.
Commissioner Dorner?
Vote aye.
And Commissioner Geraldo?
Vote aye, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay, the ayes have it, 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now go have a good day. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is item 8, which is another extension request. It is a preliminary plan of subdivision 4-05113 Darcy Park North. Mr. Diaz-Campbell?
I'm still here, Madam Chair.
Wonderful. I see Mr. Horn. Okay. Mr. Burton, are you on?
Madam Chair, I'm here.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Mr. Diaz-Campbell, you may proceed.
All right. Once again, I'm the Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm Randy Diaz-Campbell, Senior Planner for the subdivision section for the record. Item number 8 on the agenda is an extension request for a preliminary plan section 4-05113, the RC Park North. This preliminary plan section was approved by the Planning Board on September 28, 2006, and is valid through December 31, 2021, due to prior legislative extensions of the plannability period approved by the County Council. by letters dated November 2, 2021 and December 29, 2021. The applicant requested a 2-year extension of the plan's approval. This is the applicant's first extension request. The extension request is required to be filed prior to the extension of the PPS, and this requirement was met. If this request is approved, the plan will be valid through December 31, 2023. The subject permit plan approved 4 parcels for the development of 497 dwelling units. Section 24-119D of the subdivision regulations, as modified by County Council Bill CD 93/2021, authorizes the planning board to grant and extend normal expiration of the permit plan subject and certain criteria met. For this permit plan, the criteria under Section 24-119D6 apply. These criteria are listed in the staff memorandum. Pursuant to Section 24-119D6A, this plan is valid for a 6-year validity period and is eligible for the requested extension because it has more than 400 residentially zoned dwelling units. The development is in the rural residential zone. Pursuant to Section 24-119D6C, an extension of up to 6 years from the expiration of the permit plan may be granted by the planning board if at least one of the 3 criteria in subsections B Romanet 1 through B Romanet 3 is met. Though this plan is eligible for a 6-year extension, only a 2-year extension has been requested. Staff did find that the second criteria under Section 24-119D6B was met. Specifically, staff found that the developer has been proceeding in a diligent manner to complete the development, and that has been through no fault of their own, they have been unable to complete the development within the plan's validity timeframe. Based on the information given by the applicant in their November 2nd and December 29th letters, it is not the applicant's fault they have been unable to move forward on the Darcy Park North development, because they have needed to focus their efforts on obtaining approvals for and start construction of the Darcy Park South development. Darcy Park North and Darcy Park South are subject to 2 different preliminary plans, but they are nevertheless 2 halves of one project. The applicant has only been able to continue work on the southern half of the project since 2018, which may be due to the effects of the nationwide 2007 to 2009 recession. Since 2018, however, the applicant has worked diligently to pursue development of the overall project, seeking approval of a variety of plans, including detailed site plans, tree conservation plans, and storm management concept plans for both the southern and northern halves of the development. Construction of the northern half is dependent on construction of the southern half, due to the need to grade the northern half site using fill cut from the southern half. Due to the efforts the applicant has put forth in construction of the overall project to reach the point where they can begin construction of the northern half, staff found the applicant has been working diligently towards completion of the development. Based on staff's findings, staff recommends approval of the 2-year extension request for preliminary plan extension 4-05113 Darcy Park North, pursuant to Section 24-119D6B, Romanet 2 of the subdivision regulations. This concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Diaz-Campbell. We'll now turn to Mr. Horn, and then we'll see if there are any questions. Mr. Horn?
Good morning, Madam Chairman, members of the Planning Board. For the record, Arthur Horn, the law offices of Shipley and Horn. Very pleased to be here, although by myself, representing the GKG Partnership, which is the property that is developing almost 500 residential homes on 72 acres. I want to first thank Mr. Diaz-Campbell for his excellent presentation, and certainly on behalf of the applicant, we agree with his findings and with his conclusion. Just briefly, Madam Chairman, this property, as many of you all may or may not know, but this property has a long history, Darcy North and South. These were properties that were used as fields and sand and gravel operations with legitimate permits. And the Little Washington Civic Association, which is within the Westphalia area, came and said, well, look, we've got too much of these type of obnoxious uses within our community. And so they've reached out to the property owners to see what could be done. And council came up with some legislation that allowed for an increase in as residential density on these R zone properties if they were to cease these businesses, which were legitimate businesses and money-making businesses. And so they worked that out. And these properties, because of the fact that they had been used in such a manner, have been not very easy to develop. But these with the Little Washington Civic Association, the citizens, and the property owners have worked very hard, worked hand in hand, and reached out to found developers and builders to develop the South. Darcy South is under construction and is going very well. That's, they recognize the name is known as Westridge now.
Hold on, Mr. Horn, can you direct Mr. Flanagan here?
Yeah, it's the property.
So I want you to distinguish between Darcy South and Darcy North. Okay.
Yeah, right there. Yes, where his areas. Yes.
Okay.
And Darcy North is in the red on this slide 1 of 10.
Got it. Yeah.
Now Darcy North is positioned to begin its residential development. And as mentioned, the cut in the field from one site is being used from Darcy South is being used for Darcy North because, again, Darcy North, being a field, has a reclamation permit that it has to reclaim the property in a certain manner to be able to develop on it. And so that's been going on, and your backup will show an application and information we provided. And we certainly want to thank Mr. Diaz-Campbell again for reaching out and asking for additional information. And we provide all the permits and stuff associated with that, indicates that they've been diligently working on trying to be able to put this property in a position where it can be developed. As the applicant is stating here today, and as the staff concurs, we've been working diligently to complete development and have been unable, due to no fault of our own, to be able to complete it in the time frame set forth. So we just ask the planning board for your understanding and urge you to support the staff report grant of an additional 2 years. We probably would have asked for additional more time originally, but at that time the legislation didn't allow for it. But we feel like 2 years will certainly allow for them to move forward, because we do have a detailed site plan that is in process as we speak. So we do thank you for your time and your consideration, and ask you to support the recommendation for the extension.
Thank you. I was wondering why this one was 2 years, but okay, you explained that. And Vintage Little Washington, they stepped up. They're not shy of retiring. So let's see if there are any questions for either you or Mr. Diaz-Campbell. Vice Chair Bailey?
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Washington?
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Dorner?
No questions.
And Commissioner Geraldo?
No questions, Madam Chair.
Okay, there we go. So with that, I don't think, I think Mr. Burton was here if we had any questions only. So let's see if there's a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the recommendation of staff and approve the 2-year extension for preliminary plan 4-05113.
Yeah. We have a motion by Commissioner Washington and seconded by Madam Vice Chair. Madam Vice Chair.
But aye.
Commissioner Washington.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Dorner.
Vote aye.
And Commissioner Geraldo.
Vote aye, Madam Chair. Thank you.
The ayes have it 5-0. Thank you. Have a good day. Or by yourself, as you said. The next item on our agenda is item 5, which is a mandatory referral. It is a mandatory referral 2107F as in Frank Livingston Crossing Solar. We're going to do a check. Do I see Ivy Thompson? There she is. Okay, Ivy Thompson. Tom Haller.
Good morning, Madam Chair. I'm here.
Wonderful. Josh Forgash.
I'm here, Madam Chair. It's John as well.
Okay. Well, I'm only going by the sign-up list. Okay. So let me see. What am I doing here? Are you saying there's 2? Was John? Oh, okay, John, you're correcting me. Okay, this is a mistake.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. Kevin Calloway.
I'm here, Madam Chair. Good morning.
Wonderful. I see you, Mr. Eastep. I don't have you on my sign-up list, though.
I'm here if you need any questions about the community.
Okay, but I can't ask you any questions because you're not on the silent list, but thank you. And it's good to see you. It's good to see you and after your, the business roundtable. So I'm glad you're doing well. Okay. And so I'm going to turn to Ms. Thompson first. Oh no, we have one exhibit. It is the applicant's exhibit number 1, which is the community outreach summary. It's 4 pages. All right, Ms. Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the Planning Board. I'm Ivy Thompson with Special Projects. I am here to present Livingston Crossing mandatory referral case MR 2107F. This proposal was reviewed per Land Use Article Section 20-301 through 305 of the Maryland Annotated Code for Mandatory Referrals. The Livingston Crossing Solar Project is a proposal for the construction and operation of a 2-megawatt solar energy generation facility. The total electricity generation output meets the 2,000 kilowatt threshold. Therefore, the applicant will submit a certificate of public convenience and necessity exemption request to the Maryland Public Service Commission for approval. Next slide, please. The project is located in Council District 9, Planning Area 84, Piscataway and vicinity region, and is in the Mount Vernon viewshed. Next slide, please. The 17-acre site is located at 14203 Livingston Road in Clinton. Next slide, please. The site is zoned as residential agriculture. The site is adjacent to the St. James Hill, a county designated historic site, and other residential agricultural zone properties. Next slide, please. As you can see here, the property is east of the Resource Conservation Overlay, but is not located within any overlay area. Next slide, please. This is an aerial view of the site, and the property was an active farm and is currently used to grow hay or left uncultivated. The site contains an existing greenhouse building and 2 existing shed buildings, which will be removed with the proposal of this project. The site will keep the area with a drive access and a 24-inch wide swing gate, which is at the bottom. Kenneth, if you can go to the bottom corner of this screen, of the subject site in red, where the white buildings are, that's the area I'm discussing. Sorry. A 6-foot tall site-type privacy fence will secure the area, and there's also a 10-foot fire break surrounding the solar panel area. Next slide, please. The on-site woodlands are located along Piscataway Creek and are proposed to remain undisturbed. The application area qualifies for a Woodland Conservation Ordinance exemption letter and is one of the recommendations. Next slide, please. The site, which is accessed via an existing paved road, has frontage on Livingston Road, which the 2009 Countywide Master Plan of Transportation recommends as a 4 to 8 lane arterial roadway. Next slide, please. So the applicant provided, for community outreach, the applicant provided notification letters via certified mail to the surrounding landowners and civic associations, and a detailed outreach matrix was provided as backup, which you just mentioned, and the applicant's representative can speak about their outreach efforts if there are any questions. In December, the planning board staff mailed the mandatory referral acceptance notification letters to adjoining property owners and area civic associations. To date, no citizens have contacted the planning department staff about the project. The proposed solar energy system consists of 5,180 solar panels mounted on a single axis tracking system on approximately 11 acres within the 17-acre site. At the site entrance, which again, Kenneth, if you could go to the left of the screen, just outside where to the right of the screen, my other left, in that area, thank you. At the site entrance, there will be a 2,000 square foot maintenance support laydown area with drive access. The trackers will be mounted to posts and will reach a maximum height of approximately 12 feet at maximum tilt, depending upon topography. Next slide, please. So this is a view shed map in gray. So the planning board does not support siting the solar arrays in the Mount Vernon viewshed area of primary concern where the subject site is located. The Mount Vernon viewshed is an important cultural landscape in the Accokeek and Piscataway communities, and the 2013 approved Subregion 5 Master Plan and Section Map Amendment cites the need to protect the view across the Potomac River to and from Mount Vernon. A viewshed glare and analysis demonstrating negligible impact to the viewshed was completed, and this first slide shows the area in gray is the area of the solar array. And at the very bottom of, if you can go, Kenneth, to the bottom right above where the buildings are, there's a small area in green there. And that's the area that shows the visibility of anything that is 13 foot tall in height, any type of development that you can see from Mount Vernon. Next slide, please. These next two slides are sightline exhibits that shows the sightline and tree cover screening view from Mount Vernon. So if you could look at this slide and then the next slide. All right, and then the next slide, please. All right, so the site is also not a preferred location for the proposed solar energy system based on the information received from the Soil Conservation District. The proposed solar energy system is located on prime agricultural soils and is considered prime farmland. The site was selected because of the minimum impacts to both the viewshed and any future agricultural uses. The site will not be graded, but will be leveled and seeded with plants and native grasses to meet the dual pollinator use to mitigate the impact on the rural agricultural use of the property. A pollinator plan should be provided to demonstrate how this pollinator concept will be sustained through the lifetime of the solar facility. And if the dual use concept is not implemented, additional mitigations such as permaculture or soil remediation must be provided for the loss of prime agricultural soils as appropriate for a site in the residential agricultural zone. Next slide, please. There are 4 recommendations. Staff is recommending that approval to transmit to the applicant. The 4 recommendations, they include adherence to pollution and noise regulations, the request for a pre-incident plan with the county fire EMS department, submission of a dual use pollinator plan, and the woodland conservation ordinance exemption letter. This application has been reviewed for conformance to the planning board to adopt the uniform standards for mandatory referral review as set forth in the technical staff report. Staff recommends that the planning board transmit comments to the applicant, and this concludes staff presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Thompson. I'm going to see if there's any questions of you at this time. Madam Vice Chair?
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Washington?
No questions, thank you, Ms. Thompson.
Commissioner Dorner?
No questions.
And Commissioner Giraldo?
No questions of Miss, no questions.
Thank you. So my sign-up list says Thomas Haller, but I understand there's been a name change here. Mr. Haller, are you now Grandpa Haller?
Well, I was called old until about 3 weeks ago, and now I'm called Grandpa. I like the change.
Okay, there we go.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, I have a little baby grandson.
And his name is?
Carter William Haller.
That is wonderful. So congratulations to you, Grandpa Haller, and congratulations on Carter. So, you may proceed now.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, members of the board. Thomas Haller, Grandpa Haller, on behalf of the applicant in this case. I represent Soul Harvest Energy, which is the parent company of the applicant. And with me today is Mr. John Forgash with Soul Harvest, and Kevin Caluette with Ben Dyer Associates, who's prepared all of the civil engineering drawings. You mentioned earlier, we've also been working with JHE Community Consulting with Jeff Estep on our community outreach as well. This is another community solar project being brought into Prince George's County under the state's pilot program. As Ms. Thompson indicated, we're proposing to use 11 acres of a 17-acre property, and we have located the solar arrays to minimize visibility from the road. The property has a very narrow frontage on Livingston Road, only about 240 feet, but the arrays are being located in the back of the property behind some existing scrub vegetation, and it will be further screened with a site-type fence as well as additional screening materials. We have been working on this project for about a year, and we have proactively reached out to your staff to address any concerns that there may be. We have provided various studies, both archaeological studies as well as viewshed studies to address any concerns related to the property. And we've also proactively reached out to members of the community to make sure there aren't any issues or concerns or objections to locating the solar facility at this location. We concur with the 4 recommendations that are contained in the staff report. We appreciate Ms. Thompson's assistance in working with us and reviewing the information we've provided, and I'm happy to answer any questions that the planning board may have at this time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Haller, Grandpa Haller. Madam Vice Chair, are there any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Washington?
No questions. Congratulations, Mr. Howler.
Thank
What a
you.
joy to be a grandparent.
It's great.
And Commissioner Dorner?
No questions, and yes, congratulations. I assume that the fantastic part of being a grandparent is that you can spoil them and give them back, and you don't lose any sleep over it.
Absolutely.
I'm
You
not
have,
stage,
you
like
have a
I'm,
long way to go, Commissioner Dorner. You have a long way to go.
I'm a long way, so I envy you that you can at least keep your sleep during this process because it's fantastic.
But you can feel free to talk to Commissioner Washington or Commissioner Giraldo, Mr. Haller. Okay, and speaking of Commissioner Giraldo, any questions?
No question. Mr. Haller, it's great. That's all I can say. It's a joy.
I've loved every minute of it so far. Thank you.
Wonderful. So, Mr. Haller, your folks here are for questions only. Is that what you indicated?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay. So if there are no questions of anyone, we're prepared for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the recommendations of staff and approve the transmittal of MR-2107F to Mr. John Forgash.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Motion by Commissioner Washington, seconded by Madam Vice Chair. Madam Vice Chair.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Washington.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Dorner.
Vote aye.
And Commissioner Giraldo.
I vote aye, but I know we can't change this, but it's just sad to see more farmland going just to use other than farming, especially when you consider that President Biden recently said that he was going to promote smaller farms in order to try to reduce the cost of inflation or the inflation percentage. But I vote aye.
Okay, the ayes have it 5-0. Mr. Haller, did you have any response or no? You don't have to, but if you so choose.
Well, this property has been farmed in conjunction with the adjoining property, the Parker Farm, and that property will continue to be farmed. And there was a letter of support for this project from the Parker family because the two families are very close, the Parker family and the Bach family. So there is going to be a continuation of farming. But as with a number of other applications before you, the opportunity to provide some solar panels does actually provide some consistent economic return to the farmers that allows them to continue to farm. So, but we understand your comment. We appreciate your concern.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the ayes have it 5-0. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. The next item on our agenda is item 9, which is detailed site plan 20012 Metro City. Let's check to make sure we have everyone. Henry Zhang, are you present?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Yes.
Wonderful. And Tracy Scudder, we see you. Okay. Alex Kirchhoff? Are you present? No. Okay.
Present.
Oh, you are present. Okay. Oh, I see. You came up alphabetically different. Okay. Look, Thomas Burke, are you on?
Good morning, Madam Chair. I'm present.
Okay, I called you last week, but because we had made a big fuss because I know you missed us. Okay, and want to come back up here.
I will see you soon.
Yes, you will. And congratulations to you on your appointment with the environmental division. So we're so pleased to have you back over here. So one agency, but we get to see you more. And Noelle Smith, are you present?
Present, Madam Chair.
Okay, wonderful. Now we have a number of speakers signed up, and I may or may not pronounce all these names correctly, so please feel free to correct me if I get it wrong. Neil Bobbies? Or Bobbies?
I'm here. It's Bobby's. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Wonderful. Okay. Scott Callens?
Yes, ma'am. I'm present. Thank you.
Okay. Masood Tawhidi?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Present.
Good morning, Masood. Beverly Habada?
Habada, I'm here.
Habada, thank you. So, but you're present. Mike Lenhart?
Present, Madam Chair.
And Mr. Interdonato?
I'm here, Madam Chair.
And Milton Perez?
Present, Madam Chair.
And that concludes the sign-up list. Thank you. We have also some letters that are entered into the record. We have Citizens Exhibit number 1, which is a letter of support from Beverly Habada, Town Administrator for the Town of Capitol Heights. And we have, that's Citizens Exhibit number 1. And then Citizens Exhibit number 2 is a letter of support from Bradley Hurd, President representing Greater Capitol Heights Improvement Corporation. With that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Mr. Zhang.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the Planning Board. For the record, this is Henry Zhang, Reserve and Design Section. Item 9 in front of you is a detailed site plan for Phase 1 of a mixed-use project known as Metro City. Consists of 72 townhouses, 240 multifamily dwelling units for seniors, and then 195 bed assisted living facilities. Next slide, please. Excuse me. The subject site is in Planning Area 75A, Council District 7. Next slide, please. Specifically, as outlined in red, this site is located on the west side of Addison Road South and on the east side of Rawlins Avenue, approximately 4,000 feet, linear feet southwest of its intersection with Central Avenue. Next slide, please. This site is in mixed-use transportation-oriented zone, surrounded by residential zone, RR zone, I-1 industrial zone, and also MEOI zone, mixed-use infill zone. Next slide, please. This site is also within the Development District Overlay Zone of the 2000 approved sector map and sectional map amendment for Addison Road Metro Town Center. Next slide, please. This is the aerial photo shows that basically the site is wooded with environmental features, which is the stream in the middle of the site. Basically, that environmental feature bisects the property. Next slide, please. You see steep slopes along both sides of the stream, basically in the middle of this property. Next slide, please. This is the master plan right-of-way map, which shows that the Addison Road South is an arterial roadway, and the Rawlins Avenue is a primary roadway. The map is not updated because the This is another primary roadway, which you see here in the middle. Inside the property is not correct. Actually, it's turned it to the internal street, which connected to the rolling avenue. Next slide, please. This slide shows the approved conceptual site plan 1601, which planning board approved on March 2018 for a larger development, including 2 phases you see here on the both sides of the green. Basically, this larger project for a maximum of 1,043 dwelling units and up to more than 151,000 square feet of commercial/retail. This is the phase 1, which is on your left-hand side, basically primarily are residential uses. Those commercial retail uses are in the right-hand part, which is the phase 2. Next slide, please. This gives you the overall site plan. You see here on the right-hand side, on the left-hand side, this is phase 1, which shows the specific building footprints. I will have another enlarged slides follow this. Next slide, please. You see here, this phase 1 basically includes 72 townhouses you see here on this small footprint, and also includes 3 larger multi-family buildings, which basically are the building height of 4 to 5 story. And then I have those in different colors outlined. This is the on your left-hand side image. This is the building I and the G, and in the outline in red, that's the building G. And then on the right-hand exhibit, this is the building. I'm sorry, this is building G actually. The in red one is the building H. Basically, all those I and G basically are senior housings. Building I outlined in blue, which has 114 DUs, and the building G, which is another senior building, has 126 units. This building outlined in red is basically a 195-bed assisted living facility. In the following slides, next slides, please. Basically, slides 12 to 19, and also all the way to 21, actually, are all those building elevations, which will be showing for, both multifamily and also townhouses. And also a quick note here is that all those images have been shown at the time of planning board approval of 4-19044 last year. That's the preliminary plan of subdivision. So those images has been included in that presentation, and then I will just go through them very quickly. This is the building G. It's a senior housing. You see here on the lower hand side, on the lower corner of the exhibit, there is a highlighted orange. That's the location of that building G. It's very prominent building, and with a lot of articulation, include a very prominent entrance tower and also court cashier. Next slide, please. Those are the rear and the side elevations. Basically, the building is finished in a combination of various brick, and also a cementitious panel, along with those aluminum window system. Next slide, please. This is a different side elevation. And then you will see here, all those multifamily building have underground parking. In this case, this building G will have a 2-story parking garage below the level. Next slide, please. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, okay. This is the parcel H you see here on your lower right-hand corner. That's basically give you a key map, show where this building is located. This is a 195-bed assisted living facility across the street from building I. Also designed in a pretty similar way, and employ a lot of vertical projection, like a box window type of design vocabulary, and then try to break down horizontal expanses of this large building. Once again, multiple colors of brick has been used along with cementitious panel, and then again, this side also, this building also have an underground parking structure, which in this case is like 3 level. Next slide, please. Yeah, those are the different side elevation and rear of this building H. Next slide, please. Carry the same design theme and the finished material. This is another one, the third multifamily building for senior, which is located on the right-hand corner. You see that key map. This is the building location. This one has a slightly different finishing material, like a cementitious panel, but in the appearance of fall wood, and then along with those architecturally graded masonry panel, and also block. Next slide, please. Those slides will be different elevation for this parcel I building. Next slide, please. Okay. Slides 20 and 21 will be elevations for those townhouses. And I had to mention that those townhouses provided here are very large lot townhouses. Basically, the end units will have 24 feet wide frontage, and the interior unit basically a 20-footer. This is the front elevation. Most of the front elevation will be finished with a different color tone of the bricks. Next slide, please. And then this is the side, basically shows the side elevations, and we have also a highly visible end units requirement that's require additional architectural elevation to be articulated with the additional architecture features. Those townhouses with base finish square footage, range from 1,600 to up to 2,592 square feet. With all options, the units can be up to 3,152 square feet. Of course, finished basement is one of the options. This exhibit basically shows those options. Next slide, please. I had to mention that the applicant will use multiple green building techniques in those townhouses and also in multifamily buildings. Staff report has a detailed discussion of those features used under the finding number 6. This slide is slide 22 and also 23, basically shows the signage proposed for the development. This is the basically signage on top of the entrance canopy on the at the main entrance of each multifamily building. Next slide, please. There's also 2 monumental sign. One will be in the at the main entrance to this development along the Rollins Avenue, and then the other one it will be in front of building G. Next slide, please. This is the type 2 tree conservation plan, which shows the location of regulated on-site environmental feature, which had been preserved or restored in a nature state to the full extent possible. Next slide, please. This DSP has been reviewed for conformance with the requirements in both the MXT zone and development district overlay zone, except for one DDUZ standards. The applicant has requested an amendment in accordance with section 27.548.25C, which has been discussed on page 10 of the staff report. This DSP is also being reviewed for conformance with the applicable conditions attached to the prior approval, include the CSP and preliminary plan of subdivision. This detailed site plan conforms to the applicable requirements of the landscape manual, woodland and wildlife habitat conservation ordinance, as well as tree canopy coverage ordinance. No agencies opposed to the approval of this detailed site plan. As Madam Chair mentioned at the very beginning, that the city of, Capitol Heights provide a letter of support on January 18, 2022. And then on the same day, a letter of support also received from GCHIC, which is a Greater Capitol Heights Improvement Corporation, also expressed their support. We didn't receive any response on District Heights and Sea Pleasant. In summary, findings for approval of this detailed site plan, as stated in section 27.285B1, 2, and 4, are all satisfied. The urban design section recommends that planning board adopt the finding of this report, approve one alternative DDUZ standards to allow front-loaded townhouses with garage not recessed from the front building facade, and then further recommend that planning board approve this detailed site plan, DSP 20012, include a TCP2 -027-2021 for Metro City Phase 1 with 3 conditions as stated as staff report page 32 and 34 of the applicant also proposed 3 minor revision to the condition, which has been discussed with the staff. The applicant will address the planning board and then present their revisions. This concludes the staff presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Zhang. It's a very thorough presentation, so it might have generated some questions. So let's see if the board has any questions of you. Okay, now why is that up there? You're sharing your screen. Oh, okay. Madam Vice Chair, any questions? Mr. Zhang?
Thank you, Mr. Zhang. You mentioned that in the assisted living facility, there would be 195 beds. How do you count beds in this particular assisted living proposal? Is that 1 bed per room or 2 beds per, what does it mean? How do you get to 195?
You're muted, Mr. Zhang.
I'm sorry, yes. There are 2 types of the rooms within that 195 bed facility. Basically, it's cut in by the bed because there is a single occupancy room and then double occupancy room.
Okay.
So if you're single, you count on only 1 bed. The double will have 2 beds.
Okay. Thank you.
Was that it for you, Madam Vice Chair?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Washington?
I have no questions at this time. Thank you.
Commissioner Dorner?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. Can we go back to the floor plan or the side view of the assisted living facility?
Yeah, that'll be building H.
Yeah, this is fine, this slide right here. Yeah, either one of those. So I just want to clarify, this is below ground parking, it looks like, which we've kind of struggled with to get in the county. Is that right?
Yeah, it's under the building. Basically, when they dig out the basement, they use the space for the parking.
Okay, that's great. That's really nice to finally see this happening. Is there going to be, and I realize that there might be like a mobility challenge for some of the residents, but will there be some kind of a bicycle parking area? So if the residents do come with like a bicycle, or if they have bicycles at the apartments, that they would have them, like personal ones, that they would have a storage place in the garage, you know?
We didn't have that specifically parking for bicycle in the garage.
Okay, so maybe I'll tee that up for Ms. Scudder, maybe in terms of whether or not there's going to be like a bike page or anything if people do have their own bikes. Then can you go to one of the views of the floor plan of the townhomes? I think
That's the slides 20 to 21, please.
I think slide 21, actually. Yeah, if you can just go one more. So when I was zooming in, I was trying to zoom in on the floor plan itself for the two-car garage, because I can't see any of the numbers. It's just too blurry in the PDF. For the two-car garage, what's the width on the garage, and then what's the width on the entranceway right there? I know it's 24 total, but how is that being broken up on interior space? Because it looks really nice. It looks like the cars fit, but I'm very doubtful that there's that kind of a fit in these garages, because I have a home that's like this size. It's tight.
Yes, Mr. Dorner. This is a traditional townhome, which is much larger than the townhome you had. I mean, you have in the EYA. And then that's why we didn't have the requirement for, remember in the regular small lot townhome, we require they have the deck as a, standard features. But in this case, this is a very traditional larger townhome. The interior unit is 20 feet wide. I mean, that's basically at least 6 feet wider than the normal, those small lots. And then the end units is much wider, it's 24. So basically, those parking garage, I can't remember specifically, but if you look at the two-car garage, that's a 24 wide in general. And then you have about 1.2 feet here. That basically, for the normal opening of the door. So this is much larger. So I think Mr. Andy or Ms. Tracy will answer this question for you. The specific
okay, so yeah, I'll take it up for her then, because I realize that these are wider units by just number, but that doesn't mean that it's just because of a different layout. Because we don't have the side hallway right there, which I assume is 3.5 to 4 feet. And if you add that onto the EYA units, then you get the exact same size as the interior garage. So I mentioned this to you for like staff purposes, that when we start to think about how many cars we can fit in garages and do it actually from a realistic or a practical standpoint, if you have a 19-foot wide garage in there, that is super tight for 2 cars. And assuming that we can actually fit 2 cars in there is not necessarily a great assumption when you have 2 mid-sized SUVs like sitting side by side. If you have 2 smaller sedans or something, then you can do it, but it's still really tight. And the picture that's right here is deceiving, because that's not a real car width. So when we present these kinds of things and we think about like parking requirements, especially in urban areas, we need to be careful about how the visualizations are done. And what we're thinking about from like a staff standpoint, like if we're looking at, okay, we need these many parking spaces or parking units for a particular townhome or whatever it might be, we need to make sure that the townhomes are wide enough to actually support that, because otherwise, like in EYA, we don't have people using their 2-car garages for 2 cars. We have them using it for 1 car, and then they store a bunch of stuff in there because it's not enough space to fit 2 cars legitimately side by side, unless you have 2 very small sedans to actually do it. So while it might look okay on paper, it's not practical. And then you run into all sorts of other parking problems that people just don't even obey the parking requirements that we have around here. So I'm kind of teeing that up for Ms. Scudder to hopefully address, because it's a realistic problem that when we're approving these DSPs, we need to be thinking about. And then some also just talking about the design. I'm interested in knowing about like the stairs. I can't tell which way is up when you would walk in from the front porch area to go into the house. So just a practical concern in my house is that I couldn't get a bed with a box frame up the stairs because of how it was designed, because there wasn't enough height on the stairwells. And I'm worried about whether or not when you're going in there, if you're going to be able to turn and actually make that with different furniture and other stuff. Just another kind of practical question. And maybe you have these units already in other places, so you've addressed that with the builder. But I'd like to hear from the applicant maybe about those things. But thank you, Mr. Zhang. I appreciate this.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Commissioner Giraldo. Any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Zhang, I was reading the report from the health department, particularly speaking about open spaces and pet-friendly amenities for pets and their owners. And I didn't, unless I missed it, I didn't see a dog park proposed. And am I correct in that?
Actually, yes. No, actually, well, the story is like this. Initially, they did include a dog park, and but recently there is a community park which is open, just like a quarter mile. It's a Rolling Avenue community park, which has a completely fully equipped dog park, and then therefore this applicant choose to only provide dog walk, and then you will see that in the revised condition. They do, provide a facility for the dogs.
So they provide pet stations with bags. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, was basically what included on this side. It will be dog walk with refuse facilities. And then those others, fully equipped park is very close to this development. And then the citizen will be able to use that dog park.
So it's close enough for the seniors to walk to. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And we can,
we'll talk about it.
Mr. Giraldo, we can have Ms. Scudder address some of your questions as well.
Thank you, Zhang.
Okay. Thank you. And with that, Ms. Scudder, it is your turn. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman Hewlett and members of the Planning Board and staff. For the record, my name is Tracy Scudder. This afternoon, I once again have the pleasure of representing the applicant in this matter, Metro City LLC. Mr. Andy Interdonato, the developer, is present and is representing Metro City LLC. His partners, Neil Bobbis and Scott Callens, are also present representing Metro City LLC as well. Metro City, as you may recall from my presentation several months ago on the preliminary plan, was Mr. Interdonato's vision of what could be successfully built on this land. He has developed several communities in Capitol Heights over the last 30 years, and he has a unique connection to this community and certainly insight and experience with establishing communities in this particular area of the county. I would also like to introduce the rest of our team. Ms. Tanika Felder of Redleaf Group in Lanham, Maryland is here today, Chairman Hewlett. She did sign up. She said the confirmation that she received back was for next week's hearing, but I did want to ask her to take up the question that Mr. Gordon
Oh, you know what? Hold on. I need to check with our folks so they can look into that. Did you hear that? Ms. Felder, she said she signed up for this hearing, but she got a confirmation back from next week. We're hard and fast on these rules, so unless I find out that she's signed up, because it opens up a tremendous Pandora's box. So we'll see I'm going to pass on that while we double check here. Okay.
Okay. Understood.
Mr. Hunt, are you able to elaborate? You can look as well, right? Because we're looking.
Yes, Madam Chair. I'm looking at the list right now. Unfortunately, I don't have that name on the list.
that came from our publications team on Tuesday. So,
Okay.
but we'll have to take a look for the one
That's-
from the.
They're looking, so if you can do that too, while we go on to the next speaker, or you finish your presentation, Ms. Scudder, and then we'll look that up. Okay. Okay. How did she get on? So if she got a link for today.
I did because, you know, I forwarded it to her because she had said she didn't get the email and she had signed up. So I just forwarded it to her.
Okay, well, we don't forward in the future, but have to find it. If there's a problem, there's a number you can call to let us know that you're having a problem of signing up. You know, so we'll take a look at that. But you can proceed with the rest of your presentation. Okay, but Ms. Felder, if anything like that happens in the future, or anybody, if it happens to anybody, just we'll call up here and let us know that there's a problem that you signed up and you got the confirmation for the wrong day or something to that effect. And then if you can show us the confirmation that you did get, Ms. Felder, that would be helpful. You can maybe show it to, email it to Mr. Hunt. Okay, thank you. Okay, go ahead, Ms. Scudder.
Okay. Also present are the project engineers from CDDI, Mr. Masood Tahiti and Milton Perez. Their offices are in Beltsville. We also have Mike Linhart with us today as our traffic engineer. And I'm not sure if Mike Johnson is present. I don't think I heard his name called earlier, but he's our project environmental consultant.
We don't have him on our list either.
Okay. Before I proceed, I'd like to thank staff, Mr. Zhang, our reviewer, and I'd also like to especially thank Ms. Jill Kosak and Ms. Sherry Connor and all the other staff members who worked on Metro City. We want to compliment their efforts on working with this team on resolving issues leading up to the hearing today, and those discussions went very smoothly. We are very excited that Metro City has continued to move forward in the entitlement process. We were initially before you in 2017 on the rezoning of this site through a conceptual site plan application. And then a couple of years later, a preliminary plan of subdivision application was submitted and it was approved in April of 2021. And now here we are on the final application, which is the detailed site plan that is before you today. We believe that the requirements for DSP approval have been met. The applicant has had an opportunity to review the technical staff report in this case and concurs with staff's findings and agrees to all the conditions that have been recommended. We do have a few requests that are essentially minor amendments to 3 of the conditions that we would ask the planning board to approve. And I can go through those amendments at this time, Madam Chair, or whatever is your pleasure if you want me to wait until I get to the end.
No, let's just go ahead while we have you. Okay.
Okay. So, so you're saying go ahead with the conditions, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. The first condition is condition 1B. On that one, we are asking that lots 67 and 72 be excluded from this condition.
Do you have proposed revised conditions or no?
I do.
I mean, so we have them, you submitted them to us? Because I don't have them.
We don't have them hard copy, Madam Chair. They're just verbal.
Right, Madam Chair, this is James Hunt. The revised conditions came from the applicant after the deadline on Tuesday. So the applicant is requesting to read them into the record right now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. So again, condition 1B, we're requesting that lots 67 and 72 be excluded from this condition. We met with staff. We pulled up the plan and kind of honed in on the area of these units and showed that these 2 units are actually not highly visible in units. Both of them face our stormwater management facility and the woods. So those 2 we've asked to be excluded from this condition. The next condition is condition 1R, and that is with respect to the dog park that was originally discussed in association with this project. However, since that time, as you all know, the Rollins Avenue Community Park opened up, and You know, they have a wonderful dog park with all the bells and whistles, and it is just a very short walk from Metro City's entrance on the Rollins Avenue side. So it is a very short walk, and we thought, as a, you know, it would be better to not duplicate that amenity at Metro City, but to, you know, to supplement it by providing, you know, a dog walk instead that does have, you know, the refuse facilities. So we are asking, with regard to condition 1R, that dog park, the word park be replaced with walk, and that we leave in the language with refuse facilities. So shall include a dog walk with refuse facilities is the proposed amendment to that condition. So we're striking the and water, because that was sort of germane to the dog park, and that'll be available at the dog park at the community park. So we're just going to do the dog walk with refuse facilities. And then the final amendment request pertains to condition 2. We are asking that that language be revised to state, prior to submission of grading permits for parcel K. So we would like to add in for parcel K, comma, the applicant shall. So those are our 3 requested amendments. Are those clear, or do I need to further? Okay.
No, I think we're clear. I think, let me make sure that for the rest of the board that they're clear with the proposed changes. Okay. Looks like they are. Okay.
Okay. I'll continue on. Each time I have been before this board on this case, I have expressed our belief that Metro City is going to make a huge contribution toward revitalization of this area of Capitol Heights. That statement could not be more true at this time. I believe the project is even stronger today because it is backed by the community, and Mr. Internato has personally met with many, many community members over the past few years on multiple occasions. His outreach is simply unmatched. He designed this project considering the community's input, and he incorporated many of the recommendations that came out of his meetings. So we hope that the community feels like they are already a part of Metro City, and that they have their personal stamp on this project as well, and therefore also a part of what we see as a transformative project for this area. After Metro City is complete, there will be 5,000 residents just among those 3 developments right there along Addison Road, that being Brighton Place, the Park at Addison Metro, and soon Metro City right next door will be the new kid on the block, all within about a half mile of the Addison Road Metro Station. The DSP that is before you today is for the phase 1 development of Metro City, which is mostly the residential component of the project, with the townhomes, the senior living, and the assisted living. That's in phase 1, and the apartments, you know, coming later in phase 2. There will be a nice mix of age groups at Metro City, from the very young to the more mature, and they will all be able to enjoy a very green development with amenities that take advantage of the site's natural environment. Approximately 40% of the land at Metro City is being preserved for green space. And there's a stream that bisects the site, and it will provide beautiful scenic views that the residents of the assisted living facility in particular will be able to enjoy. The development will promote a pedestrian-friendly environment with a trail network that will provide a connection between the residential and retail components that will later be constructed along the Addison Road frontage under phase 2. And at this time, I would like to ask Mr. Internato if he would like to jump in here and make any further remarks about the project or the application.
Yes, so if I can, excuse me, I'd like to address some of the comments about the garages and the townhouses. This townhouse plan has been used multiple times in Prince George's County, and in all reality, I don't really recall receiving any complaints about the garage space. That entranceway is about 5 feet wide, which leaves essentially about 19 feet interior space in the garages. And with that, you also have a driveway that will accommodate 2 parking spaces as well. Concerning the stairways going up, again, I don't recall ever getting any complaints about people trying to move furniture up and down. Pretty standard stuff, and again, it's been used many times without complaint. Over and above that, there is a trail that runs through this project, and it connects phase 1 and phase 2. And the trail is actually over a mile long. We're going to utilize that trail as our dog walk device. I think will be a tremendous benefit for the community, and it is a public trail, so our neighbors will be able to use it as well. Basically, those are my comments. And
Mr. Internato, can you speak to the bicycle racks?
We have a bicycle rack that is incorporated in all buildings that you have seen on the outside for parking bicycles. I hear the comment about having one in the garage area. I think that's a good idea, and we will incorporate that in our final design for these buildings.
Well, Madam Chair, that concludes our presentation regarding this application.
Okay. You go ahead. You can finish.
I was just going to say that we respectfully request the Planning Board's approval of DSP 20012 to include the requested amendments to the 3 conditions that I reviewed with you earlier and the requested waiver with regard to the development district standards. And we are happy to answer any additional questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Scudder. I'm going to see if the board has any other questions of you, and number 1. Then we're going to see if Mr. Zhang has anything in response to your requested changes. And then I'm going to see, we have a representative from the town of Capitol Heights. So we want to hear from Ms. Habida as well. Okay, so with that, I'm going to see if the board has any questions of you. Madam Vice Chair?
No questions.
Okay. Commissioner Washington?
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Dorner?
Yes, I appreciate the responses, Mr. Is it Interdonato? I don't want to mispronounce your last name.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Okay. So, and I don't mean to diminish the floor plan itself as being effective or a good floor plan, but just because you haven't received complaints doesn't mean that it's not actually, that there aren't complaints. Because our builder never reached out to find out like what actually worked or didn't work. And specifically told us that we could get certain things up the stairs and get it in. You can't. You just can't. And it doesn't matter if they say that you can. They don't actually come back and ask, hey, was it actually possible to do that? And I don't have a whole lot of complaints about our floor plan because I think it's a fantastic home. And it's very similar to the ones that you have here. They're just small things that just don't work exactly as sort of intended or what the builder thought might work, that in reality, when you actually move in and start using the units, it kind of goes differently. And one of those is actually that garage that you have there. I would encourage you to perhaps think about reducing that 5-foot width on the entranceway to 4.5 or even 4 feet. I think we have 3.5 on where we enter from the garage. It's not quite enough to get in like really big furniture and other things, but it's fine width-wise to actually get stuff in. And that'll pull you another half foot to a foot in the garage because 19 feet just isn't enough. That's what I have. And it's super tough to get like a small SUV and like two small SUVs side by side. You don't have enough room to get a door in. And my mom, when she comes, she's mobility challenged, I guess, or however you might want to describe it. Like she just can't easily get in and out. So I have to park her car and squeeze in and basically just like suck my breath in to try and get the cars in. And we have a two car side by side garage that would be very similar to this one. And if you can buy yourself another half foot to a foot in there, it makes all the difference in the world for the residents. And I think that would be a good design to look at for there if you can slightly alter the architectural plan just to get you a little bit more space in there. But other than that, I also wanted to thank you for doing this project. It looks really good. I like it. I'm really happy to see that you're able to bring something to plan here that has like the below garage parking in the senior living facility, because we've been trying to do that with multifamily and other kind of buildings. We keep getting the comment that the price point won't work in the county, or it's just not possible, and you found out how to make it work. So this is a great example. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Dorner. And next we have Commissioner Giraldo.
I just have a few questions. So the dog walk, how long is the dog walk?
The dog walk is, I think, 1.8 miles. So, do we have a view of the trail?
And Andy, maybe you can also just go into more specifics about what that dog walk is.
Mm-hmm. And before you do that, Ms. Scudder, can you direct Mr. Flanagan here to the appropriate slide that might best depict the dog walk? Or Mr. Zhang?
Yes, this is Henry Zhang with Urban Design Section. We unfortunately we don't have an exhibit to show that trail, but there's a master plan trail. If you can, Kenny, just move the cursor further down along this property line. Yeah, basically there's a trail basically along this. You see the.
Okay, up where he's going now?
No, that's the sidewalk on both sides.
Around the property line, it's along the property.
Actually the southern property line, Kenny. Yeah, okay, stop over there. Yeah, it's you see that? No, keep going to the left-hand side a little bit. Left, keep going. Okay, around that location, there is a master plan trail will be going through the side along the environmental feature here. I think Tom Burke here, Tom may give you a very exact location of that trail. Tom, please.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay,
Is the trail built?
This is Tom Burke with Department of Parks and Recreation, for the record. The trail would be basically along that southern property line up as it leaves Rollins Avenue, and then meandering in towards the center of the property. So that's part of on the property, more or less where the cursor is, but towards the center of the property. And that's part of a master plan trail. There will be dedication of parkland with this application, and then with phase 2, the trail will continue up to Addison Road.
So when will the trail be built, Mr. Burke?
So the portion I think that we are regarding as the dog walk, that portion of the trail will be constructed with phase 1 with this application.
And how long will that dog walk be?
As far as feet, as far as the distance goes, I don't know offhand, but it'll go back basically to more or less to the center of that property. If you can imagine what the center point of that property is.
Okay.
It'll wrap around the units. Maybe Henry, is it shown on on one of your, on the slide showing the development of the site, perhaps?
And Mr. Internado, maybe you can answer when Mr. Burke is finished.
Sure. Basically, the trail goes through the entire width of the property. The property is approximately 40 acres. So essentially, this trail is going to go all the way from Rollins Avenue to Addison Avenue, Addison Road, all the way across.
Is that the trail or the dog walk? What are we talking? The same?
They are one and the same.
Okay.
They are one and the same.
And that will all be built in the first phase?
No, sir. The first phase is built to approximately where the stream is. The second phase includes a bridge to go across the stream and then takes the trail up to Addison Avenue. So for phase one, I think that the length would be about 3/4 of a mile.
Okay.
For the length of the trail, and also we're going to equip it to allow use as a dog walk.
Okay. Next question is, what is the distance from the development to the community dog park? Do you know that?
I think it's approximately 1,500 linear feet. If you look at Rollins Avenue, you can see the park.
Okay.
Take the cursor up a little further. Keep going. You see that white structure with the circle on it?
Okay.
That's the Rollins Avenue park. So pretty close.
So for your dog walk, until what consideration have you given? I understand you're going to put the pet refuse stations. What consideration have you given to having some water accessible for the dogs?
I think that's a good idea as well, and it will be included.
Okay, wonderful. And my last question, will the assisted living unit have a memory care unit, or you don't know yet from the provider?
We definitely plan to have a memory care component in the assisted living facility.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any further questions, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll now turn to, yes? I can't see. Oh,
with
is that?
with
Ms.
Mr.
Scudder?
Internado, yes, I'm sorry. This is Tracy Scudder. With Mr. Internado just agreeing to include the water with regard to condition 1R, then we can just leave the language as is, except just change the park to walk.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Okay, so now, Mr. Internado, were you finished the comments that you were trying to make before?
I think I have. Unless other questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Okay, so let me.
Yeah, I did want to say, I'm sorry for interrupting, but I do want to thank the developers for what seems to be a really great project for that area.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so the next thing is, I think I was going to turn to, I think I'll turn to now the Ms. Habada from the town of Capitol Heights.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Beverly Habada, Town Administrator for the Town of Capitol Heights. We are appreciative of the opportunity to provide comment on this project. The developers came to the council meeting on January the 10th, made a presentation. The slides are very familiar to me based on the presentation that they gave us. Terrific presentation on the 10th. And council voted to support and to send a letter. So you have that letter in your records, and we've requested to be a party of record and have an opportunity to speak today in support of this project. This is going to provide some major benefits and development in this area of the county and in this sector that we really appreciate what the development team has done, the comprehensive nature of it, and the everything from taking care of folks to taking care of the dogs. It's been a good presentation today to hear some more of the details. So thank you for the opportunity to comment on this, and we look forward to the construction of this beautiful facilities and townhomes. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity to comment.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Habida. I appreciate it. So not all of these folks are with you, Scott, Ms. Scudder. So Scott Callens, he's not with you, or he is with you?
Yes, he is.
Okay. So the rest of them are here for just questions, right?
Yes.
Okay. I do want to say this. Just as a teachable, a learning moment. So it's very, very hard when we pivoted to virtual, and we try to give everyone the opportunity, but in order for us to get the exhibits and to get the sign-up sheets and to get the stuff to the commissioners and to the staff people are all over the place. I'm here in the building, but to get the information everywhere, we have to sign up by a certain deadline. And like the zoning hearing examiner, for some people, it's a week in advance. We do slightly less than 2 days, Tuesday at 12 noon. And it's a firm, hard, and fast cutoff. And so I need to remind everybody, so if you wish to speak, and I do this every single meeting, I said if you wish to speak, or if you wish to submit an exhibit, you have to do, or to become a party of record, you have to sign up by 12 noon on the Tuesday before the planning board meeting. I announce it every single meeting. It's right there on the screen. It's posted on our website and is clearly posted in bold red on our published weekly planning board agenda. We do that not to be punitive, but that is the only way we can get the information out to everybody that needs to have it. So I would ask that everyone try to be cognizant of that. And Ms. Felder, we did find out what happened. You signed up late. That's what happened. And the system figured that since you missed the deadline for today, that it figured that you were signing up for next week. But that is incorrect too. Because what Mr. Hunt just indicated was that you signed up, the email that you have says you signed up late. So we're not trying to be punitive, but just for the future, everyone please try to remember that, because that's the only way we can make this work. We never stopped our hearings in the midst of this pandemic. We are trying to propel Prince George's County forward. We never wanted to shut down and cut people out, but we have to do it in a way that makes it work. So I just had to make that announcement so that you'll know in the future. That's all. So everyone will know in the future. And it seems like the questions were answered, so no harm, no foul. And with that, now I'm going to turn back to Mr. Zhang. Mr. Zhang, can you respond to the proposed revisions to the conditions as specified by Ms. Scudder? And one more thing, and if people do sign up late, you cannot forward the link. Okay, thank you. Ms. Zhang.
Yes, ma'am. For the record, this is Henry Zhang with Urban Design Section. Yes, the three revisions has been discussed with the staff. We agree with the revisions. But I think as the applicant proffer for the revision to 1R, we're going to we only change one word from the dog park to dog walk. But at the same time, we keep this refuse and water facilities. So that's the only update to the original revision. With that, staff in total agreement with it and recommend approval of this revision. Thank you.
Okay, we are in a good place. Okay. I take it the board has no more questions of anyone, and does anyone feel compelled to add anything to this? And
no, I would just say that with regard to the concerns that Mr. Dorner raised with respect to the height of the stairwell and the garages, we will certainly, take his, concerns into consideration and take a closer look at those things. And so that's all I wanted to say.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move that we adopt the findings of staff and approve Alternative Development District Overlay Zone Standard A1 as outlined in staff's report, in addition to approving DSP-20012 and TCP2-027-2021, along with the associated conditions as outlined in staff and as further modified by, and the following conditions as modified by the applicant. Condition 1B, we shall strike 67 and 72. Condition 1R, we shall change in the second line dog park to dog walk. And condition 2 shall read prior to submission of grading permits for parcel K, comma, the applicant shall. And then we shall also add the proper condition by the applicant for bicycle racks in the garage.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Washington and seconded by Commissioner Giraldo. He's not letting the women have it all day today. Okay. Madam, is there any discussion? Madam, no discussion? Okay. All right, Madam Vice Chair.
Could I say I love Commissioner Giraldo? How about I?
Okay, Commissioner Washington.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Dorner.
Vote aye.
And Commissioner Giraldo.
Vote aye, and thank you. I appreciate the leaving in the water for the dogs. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Now,
you all.
Since he got a dog during this pandemic, I don't know what we're gonna do with him. Okay, the ayes have it 5-0. So everyone have a good day. I want to say I'm going to turn to the birthday boy for a critical question of the day. Mr. Birthday Boy Hunt, is there any additional business to come before the Prince George's County Planning Board today?
There's no additional business before the planning board today, Madam Chair. Thank you all.
Planning board is adjourned. I ask that everyone please continue to be kind. Please continue to be safe. Vax up, mask up, booster up. Do what you need to do to take care of yourselves, your loved ones, and your colleagues. And we can bring this down. We can bring these numbers down. And while we're at it, continue to step up your game in terms of being kind to people. We can offset some of the madness that's going on in the world, one person at a time. Have a good day.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.